Today, on Be Something Wonderful, the answer to quitting any unwanted reality, behavior, or addiction. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Massive video today. We're going to talk about this idea of shifting realities to a reality where you no longer have a certain habit or addiction or behavior, right? A couple of you have even commented on the last few videos. I think we were talking about revision. We're talking about quantum jumping or leaping to your desired reality, a shift to realities, a shift to a new identity, a new reality where you no longer have a craving for that habit. You no longer have the urge to do what you normally did in that old identity. I want to talk about this because a few of you shared that you quit smoking by shifting to a new reality, by revising it, right? Revision and quantum shifting. Another one of my clients a few months ago shifted from imagining that the junk food that they were eating didn't taste good. As they followed the script, right? They were imagining this. As they continue to follow the script and eat whatever they want, including junk food. They just didn't want to eat junk food anymore. That was they wanted to move to that identity. They eventually moved to identity where they just stopped eating junk food. It didn't taste good to them. They didn't have that identity. In other words, they were in a new reality, a new identity that had new assumptions, new beliefs, and different cravings. It no longer craves junk food. Just like these other subscribers were talking about, they no longer craved smoking. And I think one of you mentioned Bashar talks about that for sure. One of the spiritual greats, Bashar, talks about that idea that you no longer have that craving because you have a different identity that has different assumptions, different beliefs, different cravings. And it's not the craving to smoke. Right? And I think another client shared with me this idea that they kept imagining also, just like the food, kept imagining that smoking didn't taste good, that they didn't want it anymore. And they kept doing that. And they would keep smoking or following the script as they were imagining that until they didn't have it, they didn't have the urge or didn't want to do it anymore. I want to talk about this because this is powerful. Remember, the question isn't whether you can quit, meaning quantum leap or shift, quit an old reality and quantum leap and shift to a new reality or occupy a new reality or identity. The question is, from what level, hear this, are you assuming or imagining that new reality or that I quit or I'm done? Is it bottom up from level 1? We're going to show the levels again today to show you why this is important. Level 1 of action, moving your way back up from action to feelings, to thoughts, to assumptions, to eventually identity, or top down from the identity, from that identity level, deciding that I'm done, I'm in a new reality, and imagining that, right? While being aware of your true nature, levels 6 and 7. We're going to show these levels today, right? That decision, while imagining and assuming or feeling a powerful anomalous burst of energy. So that decision, while imagining and assuming, can be a powerful feeling or anomalous burst of energy that we talked about that moves you to a new reality. An anomalous burst of energy of alignment between your heart and mind. Or that's at level 5. I quit. I'm making a decision. Or it can feel like effort and struggle and feel hopeless as you try to change your behaviors from the bottom up. You try to stop smoking and then feel better about that. But the craving returns, the feeling returns, and you start doing the same things, right? So it depends on what level are you changing that behavior, right? Those that quit smoking went to that identity level. They shift to that reality. And even one of my clients was even smoking and following the script while they were imagining it differently. To eventually it just didn't taste good. They were in a new reality. They were in a new identity where they didn't have a craving to smoke, just like the one with junk food, didn't have a craving for that food anymore. And then they moved to their ideal body weight, right, in their ideal body, right? It wasn't the junk food that caused it. Remember, you can eat whatever you want. It's what you think about it, what you assume about it. They just didn't want to eat junk food anymore. That's what was holding them back, that resistance, right? Until they moved where they didn't have a craving for it, and they did move to their ideal body weight. They saw themselves in that ideal body and that ideal weight, right? Remember, the craving, the old reality, the cravings are from an old reality, old assumptions. They disappear and dissolve because they're no longer part of your new reality. Those old assumptions, those old cravings, those old feelings in the body are no longer part of that new identity, of that new reality. Do you see it? Remember, those are all just manifestations in your body. Thoughts and feelings are not reality. They are thoughts and assumptions about reality. So when you go to the identity level and change that identity and change those core assumptions, those root assumptions about who you are, it changes everything. Let's hit it. So remember, it's never about trying and struggling to be someone you are not. This is a question that came up with one of my clients. Or have something you believe or assume you don't have. It's never about that question, right? You are all realities. You're a multidimensional being, one superimposed over the other. And you can move to any of those realities right now, right? So it's not about that. The question of unwanted addictions and behaviors, right? Remember, struggling to be someone you're not, someone that doesn't have those addictions or behaviors, or have something that you believe you don't have, right? Be addiction free. You already are all things, all identities and potential, and have all things already. So you're all identities and you have all things, right? Here you are, there you are. Remember, and it's always in potential. You're occupying infinite potential realities right now, parallel alternative realities. You're occupying all of them. There's a version of you focused in on all infinite realities, and you're focused in on this one. Do you see it? But you can move to any of those. All possibilities exist within you. This guy right here, that represents your specific, individualized viewpoint in this physical, manifested reality. But that's always in potential. That viewpoint is never fixed. It just feels fixed because we've been believing the same old beliefs, assuming the same old things for so long, that we believe they are reality versus just assumptions and beliefs about reality. That's why those cravings and addictions, but that feel so tough to break, because we believe they're who we are. We believe that's our identity. I'm a smoker. I'm a junk food eater, or whatever it is, right? Drinker, whatever it is. So let's hit this. Remember the levels of reality creation. We're going to go over this, but it's really the difference from saying, I'm done, I'm that new reality here, and then allowing the thoughts, assumptions, and feelings to change as they change, right? Because you no longer have the old assumptions, you no longer have the old feelings, you no longer have the old thoughts. You're in that new identity. Or going bottom up, trying to change it by action, and then trying to change the feelings and cravings. And again, at those levels, what happens, you often return to those actions again. You start smoking or start eating junk food. Because you're not making the change at the cause. You're making it at the effects, right? Remember, you create an experience of reality on every level, right? And the first level is the all, the absolute, the Father of Scripture, the I am that I am that I am, the law, right? The absolute isness or existence or source of reality. Then you have level 6, the first manifestation, the Son, I am awareness, the cosmos, God consciousness, the beingness. Then within that, you have your identity. You see here, it's in potential. All parallel realities, all possible identities exist here. That's your self-concept. I am that. Superimposed, some version of all identities are superimposed one over the other, as we showed here. That's level 5. Right? That's your identity. That's where you get to decide. Then underneath that, you're less aware of these core or root assumptions. These are truths about the world, like linear time, or even the idea that I'm a smoker or I'm a junk food eater. Those assumptions, you believe you identify that as your identity, who you are. And so you confuse them with reality when they're just thoughts or assumptions about reality. It's not who you are. You get to decide that. And then you have like assumptions and beliefs and thoughts. Those you're more aware of, right? Those are more linear and more limited. And then you have feelings. You're only ever feeling what you're thinking or assuming. And you're only ever thinking, assuming who and what you're identifying as and with. Do you see it? And then you have your I am. the highest level, right? Feelings, and then you have feelings and cravings and emotions felt in the body. You see it? And then you have actions, 3D manifest reality. Well, here we're normally trying to take massive action to change it. I just quit smoking. And then you return to it, right? A few weeks or a few days or a few months go by, but you have those feelings again, those cravings, because you haven't changed here. You haven't changed the identity, although you're working your way up trying to get there, right? So with hard work, with persistence, right? Struggle and effort, repetition, and willpower. You need a lot of willpower. You can move to a point where you do change those assumptions and beliefs. And then the feelings change, and then the actions change. Right? And then you change your root assumptions or beliefs about who you believe you are, and then you change your identity. It's possible, but boy, it's effort. Right? And sometimes it's not permanent, right? You shift back because you haven't made the permanent change at identity. So let's hit it. Remember, trying to make changes at level 1. Level 1, we're going to go back to this over and over again. Level 1's action, right? Manifested reality. Trying to make changes at level 1 by taking action requires effort. It requires discipline, willpower, and repetition. While change is possible there, right? Cause of level 1 action is rooted in levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. The cause is here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the cause of those actions, right? So you're not getting at cause. You're trying to work your way back up, right? That's why some spiritual teachers say or mean, that's what some spiritual teachers say or mean by you have no free will, like Neville Goddard. That's why it feels like you have no free will, right? Because you're taking actions, but you're still feeling those cravings. So you return to the same actions, to the same behaviors. That's powerful. We're gonna keep this lit up. The undesirable behavior, right? And remember, so yeah, that's why some sort of say you have no free will. You take action based on how you feel. Feelings, emotions, cravings, and resistances. See, that's what drives your actions. How you feel, those emotions, those cravings, those resistances, those subjective tendencies. Right, that they feel, remember we talk about the subconscious, and they feel like programs because we believe they are reality. We believe they are who we identified with, but they're not fixed programs. They're just assumptions about reality that can change, right? But those subjective tendencies, when you go to the bottom up, they feel difficult to change, right? And remember, they're there. They're not hidden. They're not hiding out from you. Right? They're just below your awareness. You're just not aware of them, right? Remember, the undesirable behavior, the smoking, returns or the eating, right? The eating habits or whatever your addiction is, many times more strongly as you resist the unwanted reality or the identity as a smoker or a junk food eater, and you try to get rid of it. That's what we do. We create more resistance here. Because we're trying to get rid of it by taking action, trying to get rid of those cravings, trying to get rid of that identity. Do you see it? We identify more strongly with that script. We even move to scripts that we gain more weight, or we smoke more or maybe do other things that are addictions. Who knows, right? Because we get that induced transition, right? We move to more unfavorable realities as we try to quit this really unwanted reality. So let's hit this a little bit more. Remember, then there's level 2, the level of feelings and emotions. Level 2, feelings, cravings, emotions felt in the body, right? And this is where many focus to make changes in effort to feel better. It's the whole idea that you want to feel better, right? And remember, Abraham Hicks, some of you have brought that up before. There's nothing more important than I feel good. I agree. There's nothing more important, nothing more exhilarating. But remember, you are source energy. Your set point, who you really are, is feeling good. That's your natural state, right? So it's true that feelings and emotions can be an emotional guidance system and point you to what you are thinking, assuming, and believing. Definitely that feelings play that role, right? They play that role in reality creation. Emotional guidance system telling you what you're thinking and believing. And then those thoughts and beliefs can tell you what your root assumptions, how you look at the world, how you look at reality. For sure, right? Feelings and emotions also influence what you do, what action you take on level 1, as we just showed. right? And these feelings and emotions can create reality on some level. That's when we talked about the law of reversibility. Elevated emotions such as joy, gratitude, and love, if you can feel those, when you move into your wish fulfilled, or when you move into an identity, or when you think of it, imagine or assume a reality that you desire, if you can if those emotions come when you accomplish something, when you move into identity, then feeling those emotions, feeling those feelings, means you can move into that reality. It's reciprocal. It's reversibility. You can go either way. This is the bottom up. Trying to feel that joy, trying to feel that gratitude, trying to not feel that craving or that addiction feels difficult. It feels like a struggle when you go bottom up, when you try to do it by the law of reversibility, right? But remember, and outcomes, realities, identities, right, versions of you are not determined by how you feel, right? They're not determined by feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions are effects of higher cause. Do you see it? So your outcomes, your realities are not determined by these feelings. Your actions are. Your reality is determined by your identity, by these higher levels. That's those outcomes. That determines whether you're going to be in that reality or what you do or don't do, right? It's higher. The cause is higher, right? So let's hit this a little bit more. So allowing yourself to feel it in terms of feelings and emotions and all that, or to let go, can change behaviors and actions on level 1, right? That whole idea of the Hawkins method and other spiritual greats talk about feeling the feelings until the end, and then they will end. And as you do that, you release thoughts related to those feelings, right? Thousands of thoughts that are related to those feelings. So you start to feel better as you think better thoughts, as you assume better thoughts, as you let go of those thoughts and feelings those thoughts and assumptions that were creating those feelings, right? So but many times we take actions to feel better or to avoid feeling bad. Do you see it? Most times we start at the bottom and we want to take actions to feel better, right? But remember, all feelings and emotions are a translation of that one emotion of source energy, of that love. And they're all put through a filter of a thought, assumption, and belief, level 3. They're all put through that level 3 filter right here, levels 3 and 4. Whoops, let's see here. Levels 3 and 4. Those are your filters of reality, right? They're all put through a filter of your assumptions and beliefs. Cause, right? So when you change or choose another thought or feeling, belief, or assumption, you change the feelings and emotions on level 2. When you change here at level 3, you change level 2 and you change level 1. Then your behaviors change because you're feeling differently. You're craving differently. Your emotions are different. So at level 3, you can make progress here. You can change here at level 3. But again, it's still more effort than going here at your identity level, saying, I am that I am. I am who I say I am. I'm making a decision, and I'm moving there now. And then those thoughts and assumptions about who you are change. They're different. Different thoughts and assumptions come with that new identity. Different root assumptions, different core beliefs come with that. And then you have like assumptions and beliefs that line up with those core assumptions and beliefs. Then you feel those thoughts and feelings that are different, and then you take different actions. You're changed, right? So this is a very powerful way of imagining, assuming it differently. These changes then change your behaviors that are more permanent. So you can make changes at level 3. But let's move up. Level 4 are the core or root beliefs and assumptions that you have thought about so much. Here's the difference between level 4 and level 3, where you have like or similar thoughts and beliefs, right? The difference is between these two levels. 4, the core assumptions, root beliefs, what you believe is true about yourself and reality. You've believed them so much that you believe that's reality, versus these thoughts that you're more aware of, that you believe you can change, that you believe is possible. They're more linear and they're more limited, right? So they're not hidden, remember. So the core beliefs and assumptions that you thought so much about, you believe them to be truths about reality. Rather, they're just thoughts and assumptions about reality. They're not truths. They're not who you are, but they are deep. That level 4 are deeper inner convictions based on your identity, based on level 5, right? You are less aware, below your awareness, below the subconscious belief assumptions. They're not hidden. They're not unreachable, right? You're simply just less aware of them. You're just less aware. Hear it. You're less aware of these root assumptions because you believe that that's who you are at this level, level 4. You believe you are those thoughts. You believe you are those assumptions. They're not hidden. They just feel like they're hidden because you believe they are reality versus just thoughts and assumptions about reality. They're below your awareness, or what we call subconscious beliefs. That's why they feel like programs, because you believe that they're not unreachable. They're there. You can become aware of them, right? But they feel like that because you believe that's reality. Nothing's reality. Your reality. You decide it. You choose. It's your identity, right? Change here is even more powerful as your everyday spontaneous thoughts and feelings change. The level 3 thoughts, the level 3 feelings start to change. Therefore, how you feel and react within on level 2 changes. And the actions you take and how you react to physicality in 3D reality changes. As you make that change here, it changes the spontaneous thoughts and assumptions that come to you from in every moment, right? That are more linear and limited. And then it changes the feelings and cravings, emotions, and then it changes your actions. You see that here. So let's keep going. Then the most powerful, and this is what these clients were talking about, or these subscribers were talking about on the channel, and what my clients, the one who quit smoking and the one who quit junk food or quit their old reality, the most powerful but profound change is at level 5 of identity. In other words, it's a quantum shift. It's a quantum leap in another identity, another version of you, another parallel reality script, a film roll, where you no longer have those cravings. That's how all healings are done, where you no longer have an illness or condition to heal, right? You're whole. You're a whole new identity. That's what healing means, a whole new identity that no longer has what you believed was that condition or illness or addiction or unwanted behavior. Do you see that? This level answers the eternal question of who do you say I am that Jesus asked his disciples. That's why that question is so powerful. Who do you say I am? Are you John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, one of the prophets? Are you that addiction? Are you that overeater? Are you that illness or condition that you believe is in your body? Right? Or are you that quantum you, that new you, that no longer has those same beliefs, those same assumptions, those same cravings, right? When you change your identity and self-concept, you change realities, including your assumptions, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, cravings, all of it, and resistances. Levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 all change from the top down. Your new identity has new assumptions, new beliefs, new thoughts, new feelings, new emotional tendencies, new subjective tendencies, new cravings. So whatever the undesired addiction, behavior, or feeling or craving has, you move to the identity that you never had them. You never needed healing. You are always whole. You're in that new identity. That's really the answer to quitting any unwanted reality, behavior, or addiction. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful, for joining us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and for being part of our membership channel. If you've joined us, thank you for joining. We just released a powerful video on the membership channel. I noticed some of you were commenting on that. It is powerful. And we have a live stream scheduled for September 24th, Sunday, at 9 a.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time, live from here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful in Las Vegas. I'm going to answer your questions that you're sending to me at info@besomethingwonderful.com. Keep the questions coming. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom with Be Something Wonderful, coming to you from the studios in Las Vegas. We'll see you soon.